When a mad scientist turns everyone into zombies, a group of spy penguins must join forces with a secret organization to save their species. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, The Penguins of Madagascar, from 2014. In Antarctica, an entire population of penguins is migrating in a line. Wanting to know where they are going, the little skipper decides to fly to the front of the queue and find out the way. Since penguins can't fly, he starts arguing with Kowalski about what to do when an egg rolls past and knocks them all down. As the adults refuse to save the egg, the mini skipper decides to slide after the object on his own, but ends up knocking the object off a cliff and almost falls in with it, only to be saved by Kowalski and Rico at the last second. Rolling down the snow wall, the egg ends up on an abandoned ship full of leopard seals. With the predators closing in, the trio of penguins throw themselves off the cliff and Rico slides down to the egg, swallowing it so that they can escape. With the seals right behind them, the three of them run into a harpoon just as one of the predators fires its cannon, sending the trio flying away. Excited by the success of the mission, they start celebrating until they bump into the egg, which starts to crack, giving birth to the little private. Together, the four of them grow up and follow the story of Alex the lion around Madagascar, but that's only until Skipper gets fed up with the circus songs and shoots off with a cannon. With their makeshift parachute, the special penguins decide to infiltrate Fort Knox's gold reserves. Using a toy clock, the quartet fires a sleeping gas that causes the security guards to black out. With that done, they walk through the fort unnoticed until they reach the vault, which is full of gold bars. Despite this, the penguins ignore the treasure and go to the next room where there is a cheesecake machine, the private's favorite snack. As a birthday present, Skipper takes out a gold coin and hands it to the youngest, who goes to the machine very excited. While he waits for the snack to drop, Skipper and the others start talking about their next move and don't notice when the private is pulled into the machine. When they turn around, the three realize where he is and begin to wonder how this is possible. While they are theorizing, a tentacle comes out of the machine and captures them one at a time, taking them all outside the fort, where they are rescued by a cargo bob. After a while, the helicopter arrives in Venice and drops the snack machine inside a submarine. On the spot, Skipper asks Rico to free them, and that's what he does, spitting out a paperclip that the gluttonous penguin uses to pick the lock. Wanting to be useful and also receive praise, Private swallows the clip just like Rico and begins to follow the rest of the team. While walking around the place, the quartet encounters a gigantic laser gun and a mad scientist who introduces himself as Dr. Octavius Brine, a geneticist famous among humans. The man then says that the penguins know him by another name and introduces himself as Dave, an octopus who was the zoo's main attraction until the penguins arrived. Because of this, Dave was removed from the Central Park Zoo and transferred to other places around the world, but new penguins kept appearing and he was replaced several times. Angry, Dave spent years plotting his revenge, building the Medusa serum, a special substance designed to destroy penguins. Just then, the octopus's henchmen appear and surround the quartet of birds, forcing them to use their secret weapon. With a sprinkle of cheese, they manage to blind all the octopuses and steal the bottle with the serum. After Rico swallows the object, they manage to escape from the submarine and head for the Venice Canal, where they begin to row away. Even so, the octopuses go after them and force a human to chase them. While fighting using the oar, Skipper ends up being hit by a jet of ink that hits his eyes, forcing him to fight the octopuses even though he can't see. Even after one of them is knocked down, the octopuses don't give up and continue to chase the birds that are heading for dry land, falling onto a scooter that is speeding through the city's alleyways. After ramming into a watermelon cart, the penguins go flying through the city and end up colliding with another motorcycle, which destroys the boat. Unable to continue running away, the black and white birds move into combat position as the octopuses approach. With the fight about to begin, an owl called Eva suddenly appears and carries one of the cephalopods away. Just then, a polar bear called Corporal comes out of the phone booth and fires a laser gun that sends the octopus down the drain. Now that the enemies have been defeated, a husky called Classified appears and tells them that they are now under the protection of the North Wind, a secret task force dedicated to helping helpless animals. As the penguins are in danger, the North Wind takes them to their aircraft and they start flying towards the HQ. On the spot, Classified thinks the penguins are helpless animals and asks them to report what they saw on the submarine. Skipper then reveals that Octavius Brine is an octopus and shows that they managed to get the serum from the villain. At that moment, Dave breaks into North Wind's system and Classified tells him to give himself up, arguing that the serum has been stolen and that he can't continue with his plan. The cephalopod replies that he's not finished yet and shows him that he has a gigantic tank with enough serum to infect all the penguins in the world. Just then, an alert goes off and Eva receives reports of penguins being kidnapped from zoos all over the world. When he learns of this, Skipper asks Rico to get the equipment and he ends up swallowing a guided missile, firing it at the North Wind jet. Furious, Classified grabs a tranquilizer gun and starts firing darts at the penguins, who soon fall asleep. Thinking they'll get in the way, Classified puts them all in a box and decides to send them to a hideout somewhere remote. On the plane to Madagascar, the four of them get out of the box and remove the darts from their bodies. In order to save the species, Skipper opens the door to the cargo compartment and ejects himself out of the plane, going into free fall. As they fall, the four of them end up on the windshield of a jet and are pushed onto another plane. When they discover that this second aircraft is heading away from the action, they decide to make another move and head for a Hong Kong Airlines plane. Despite getting close, they can't reach the jet and go into free fall. To avoid crashing, they start looking for something that might be useful and find a box with an inflatable toy, using Rico to inflate the object with air and cushion the fall. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of penguins are playing soccer when Dr. Octavius appears and captures them all, taking them to his submarine before the North Wind arrives. After some time traveling through the sewers, the Madagascar penguins arrive on the streets of Shanghai, where they see a news report about the disappearance of their species around the world. Looking at the map on TV, the quartet realizes that all that's missing are Shanghai's mermaid penguins, and they head straight for the city's marine world. There, the spy birds disguise themselves and wait for Dave to show up. As soon as they see the octopus, everyone gets into position and Private dresses up as one of the mermaid penguins, serving as a distraction. Seeing the animal outside the aquarium, the tourists start taking photos and blind Dave with the flash, allowing Rico to make the seals break the aquarium, releasing a large amount of water that drags the octopus away. While one of the employees puts the Private in the tank, the North Wind invades the place and tries to capture Dave, but Kowalski is quicker and manages to trap him under a giant fossil. While the groups of agents argue amongst themselves, Dave escapes through the pipe and opens the drain in the penguin tank, pulling everyone into the sewer with him. To save their partner, the trio of spy birds go after the villain and steal the North Wind jet to chase the submarine. When they realize that they are being robbed, Classified and the others don't let it get away from them and get stuck in the jet, being dragged across the ocean along with a boat. Inside the ship, Kowalski notices that they are losing speed and suggests that they are overweight, which makes Rico start throwing things out of the plane, hitting Classified hard. Unaware of the boat attached to them, Skipper makes a sharp turn, which causes the boat to roll onto a rock and serve as an anchor for the jet. With the sudden braking, everyone goes flying towards the panel and Rico hits the self-destruct button head-on, which causes the plane to crash and explode right on top of the ship. Saddened that the Private had been captured, Skipper began to feel sorry for himself when Corporal told him that he had managed to locate them on a nearby island, revealing that the tranquilizer dart also had a tracking chip. On the island, the octopuses don't realize that the Private is undercover and start taking him to the center of the HQ, where Dave reveals that his Medusa serum is capable of causing genetic mutations that turn any creature into a monster. Frightened, Private ends up screaming and Dave starts checking out the mermaid penguins, discovering the undercover spy. With that, Dave knows that the rest of the special agents will be coming to them and asks his men to get ready. From afar, the penguins in the North Wind begin to observe the submarine and try to come up with a plan, but Skipper refuses to follow anyone else's orders and asks Classified's team to serve as a distraction. Realizing that there's no point in arguing, Eva suggests having a contest of plans and Skipper explains his idea by drawing in the sand, as well as hitting a poor pineapple as if he were Dave. After the penguin, it's Classified's turn to explain what he's planning, but he has far more resources and uses a super technological hologram to simulate the invasion. As if that wasn't humiliation enough, Classified blames Skipper for the failure in Shanghai and says that because of him the Private was captured, claiming that he has never lost a man during action. Knowing that he is right, Skipper gives in and decides to follow Classified's plan, distracting the octopuses while the North Wind invades the place. Doing a ridiculous dance, the penguins take the cephalopods away from the submarine, allowing the other agents to invade the vessel without too much difficulty. When they get to Dave's room, Classified tries to take the villain down, but he's already prepared and even more octopuses appear by surprise, trapping the team of spies. Outside, the Madagascar penguins let off firecrackers while waiting for the submarine to explode, but it doesn't happen and they end up being found by the octopuses. Now that everyone has been captured, Dave is finally ready to begin his revenge and traps the Private on a table, placing him in front of the machine that will fire the Medusa serum. With everything ready, the octopus takes control and fires at full charge, but the Private manages to break free using that paperclip, hiding under the table while the others think he's been disintegrated. Dave says they should reduce the power next time and begins to lead the trio of spy penguins away, allowing the Private to escape unnoticed. Even alone, The Penguin finds the north wind in one of the rooms and manages to knock out the octopus on watch, saving them from being crushed in Dave's trap at the last second. Now that they are free, Private asks for help to save the rest of his team and Classified refuses, saying that they must come up with a new plan before going into action. With his entire species in danger, the Private doesn't think twice and sets off to face the villain alone. Back in New York, Dave disguises himself as Dr. Octavius and makes the entire population gather in Manhattan, saying that he has managed to find the penguins. Excited, the crowd makes its way to the meeting point where Dave makes his triumphant entrance. While he is talking to the population, one of the octopuses uses the laser beam to start the infection, turning the penguins into totally bizarre zombies. At the sight of the new creatures, the humans panic and start running, spreading chaos throughout the city. As if that wasn't bad enough, people call pest control companies who start catching the infected penguins, trapping them in their cars. Watching the whole scene, Private begins to think about what to do when he is spotted by the octopuses. To escape, he runs to the laser beam and heads out of the submarine, where he starts looking for his friends. After some time searching, Private finds Skipper near a food truck and goes after him, catching the moment when Skipper swallows a cat whole. After some insistence, the youngest manages to bring his leader back to consciousness, snapping him out of his trance and making him spit the cat back out. Together, the two go after Kowalski and Rico and manage to make them regain consciousness, bringing the team of secret agents together to save the rest of the penguins. Now that he has Medusa's machine, Private has the idea of reversing the ray and getting everyone back to normal, but Kowalski says that for that they would need an immeasurable source of cuteness. Without thinking twice, Private enters the machine and plugs himself into the mechanism, serving as a source of energy to reverse the transformations. As soon as Private does this, a new arm appears on his body and Skipper orders him to get out of there, but the penguin refuses to obey orders and goes ahead with his plan. When he realizes what is happening, Dave reveals his true form and begins to organize his troops for a counterattack. When everything is ready to fire, Skipper tries to press the button that activates the ray, but the control is out of batteries and they have to change their plans. While Rico goes after batteries in a nearby store, Kowalski and Skipper stay behind to face the octopuses, but they are outnumbered and end up trapped. Just then, the north wind appears with the ice cream man's car and runs over all the octopuses, throwing the vehicle onto Dave's submarine, which explodes into 1,000 pieces. As they make their triumphant exit, one last octopus appears and captures them all with the pest control car. At that moment, Dave throws himself at Skipper and starts fighting with him. To end things once and for all, Rico throws a couple of batteries that Skipper puts in the controller, but Dave manages to push him, knocking over the controller and sending the penguin tumbling towards the spray cart. About to be sucked in, Rico throws a bag of cheesecakes that Skipper uses as a RPG, launching one of the snacks across the park and towards the control. Inside the machine, Dave breaks the glass and tries to pull the Private out of the core, but the penguin manages to use his third arm to surprise the octopus, landing a punch that sends him flying. From the tip of the laser, Dave sees the cheesecake hit the button on the controller and he is hit full on by the beam. Along with him, the other penguins are also affected and begin to return to normal. After everyone is transformed, a cocoon forms around the Private and Corporal breaks the machine's glass to free him. Outside, the cocoon begins to crack and the Private comes out all purple inside, as well as having grown horns from the radiation. Still, everyone is safe now and the Private is finally praised by Skipper, as he always wanted. Just then, the team of penguins begins to carry the Private when the ground begins to shake. Suddenly, Dave appears at a colossal size and begins to approach over the buildings, but just as the villain is about to attack them, everyone realizes that he has been shrunk and is now trapped inside a snow globe. Now that the villain is helpless, Skipper throws the globe to a little girl who starts swinging it from side to side, teaching Dave the lesson he deserves. After everything, Classified apologizes for the way he acted and says that they are the bravest agents he has ever met. Finally, Classified decides to give a gift as compensation and the Private asks for the flying backpacks, allowing them to fly through the air while carrying out their top secret missions. When they get tired of flying, they all go back to the circus and Kowalski has the idea of using Mort as the core of the ray, taking advantage of the lemur's cuteness to make the Private return to normal. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.